Okay, now that we are a pro at navigation and we know how to get around Illuminate, let's talk a little bit about assessment. We can assess in Illuminate two ways. We can assess students with a hard copy paper test and then scan the document into Illuminate so that we can gather data, or we can assess online. So to assess online, we either go to our drop-down menu, list assessments, and search for the assessment that we are interested in giving. Or maybe we're lucky enough to have it in our favorites widget, and we can just go to the test, click on it, and it will prompt us for how we would like to administer. Would we like to print answer sheets for the kids to scan, or would we like to assess online? Online assessment is wonderful for multiple reasons. It's paperless, so we save paper, which is very expensive, and ink. And also, it gives us some options. Students love, first of all, to get on a computer for any reason. And second of all, we can either assess with a Chrome cart. Every kid has a Chromebook in his hand, and they get to assess in your classroom, or maybe you go to a school lab, and the students get to assess as a whole group in a lab environment. Or maybe you are setting up an assessment and utilizing several Chromebooks in a small group setting while you differentiate in another location. So there's lots of options here for assessing. Now you'll notice that it popped up and I have no online assessment rosters, and that's because we have to build the roster. So we go to add roster, which is going to give us some options for what we want to do with this test. So depending on the assessment, you're gonna choose different options. There are probably some assessments that you may set up that it is okay for the kids to access overnight and at home, and then there are going to be other assessments that you will not allow them to access outside of your classroom, such as a benchmark. So you will set your times and dates here, whether or not there's a daily window or it's going to be set for an entire day. How much duration you want to give them. No time limit means 0, or do you want to give them 60 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever duration you would like. And then how many pauses will you set if the students need to leave your classroom and say go on with their test in another classroom setting. You might want to build in some pauses, or at the elementary level we may have a recess that interrupts our assessment, so we would want to set some pauses for that. And maybe the class needs the option of going to the restroom at least once, so we would set pauses. There are a couple other options here that are important. Online entry, obviously, for online testing. Do you want to leave it open, or do you want to give your assessment a password? And, if you were going to send the test home, perhaps you'd want to set a password. But if you're in class and you're given it a window of time and they're in your classroom, you may not need a password and you can just leave the test open. So you would choose the year, which is probably the current year, the grade level that you are assessing. This loads automatically for whatever your login information gave it. And then if you're at the middle school or high school level, obviously you're going to have departments and courses and different sections for classes. But at the elementary level, you will just choose your home room and then your student group that you would like to assess. So if it's a small group of students, you would pick them individually, or if it's your entire class, you would choose all. So once you have your settings, you click save. This is very important. It will not upload until you hit save. And you will see now that it is refreshing, and it gives us some information about our test. So it says who it's created by, what our window is, if we have a time duration on it. But down here, what we have is 3 options that are pretty important. We have a number for students, which should equal the roster that you have in your class. And if you have a student who does not have online access, their portal has not been opened, you will see an X next to their name, and that has to be handled through your admin. They need to be added. So you need to be double checking your roster to be sure that they are there. And then if you have any changes that you need to make on your test, you can click on the edit button, or if you just want to throw the whole thing out, you decided not to do it online, you're going to click the checkbox for delete and then hit the delete button. and those two together will delete the assessment that you just set up. Once this has been done and activated, your students will have access from either their school site under quick links, or if the school site does not have it under their quick links, they can always go to the Lodi Unified homepage, and under quick links there is a home connection for Illuminate. They would click on that, and this is how they would log in to take their assessment. So this is their Google Docs login, which is their .org email, and then the Google Docs password that has been created for them that the teacher should give. Most students know theirs by heart. There is no parent access, and so make sure the students are clicking on student when they try to log in. Once the students have logged in and taken their test, or are in the process of taking their test, underneath this tab you can see how they are doing or the results at the end. And it is also here that if a student accidentally logs out prematurely, you can reset their test and start them over. So that is how we assess online. Let's talk a little bit about hard copy.